Well, Too Tall, I want to thank you for being here. It's really good to have you back in the E3 Entertainment Studios and be a part of the first episode of the DNQ Flashbacks.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's good to be back. Spent some time here, obviously, with the DNQ series, and ready to move forward with Filthy Mechanic and obviously get going with DNQ series.
The first ever race we ran was at the pit. It was an amazing event with a bunch of us friends. It all started from us talking crap to each other one night about who was the best driver and a mechanic, and Brendan up saying he was terrible. But talk about that first race that we ran at the pit.
So the very, very first race, I'm sure we're talking about the rental cart race at the pit. Man, that was a rough day. I think we all went out the night before. I'm pretty sure we all smelled like whatever alcohol we drank the night before when we walked into the pit, and they probably thought we were crazy. The race was fun. I remember I ended up on tires. It was just a good time, and just to make fun of Danny O'Quinn, it was ridiculous.
You brought up the drivers' meetings. I don't think many people know about those, but they used to get pretty wild. We go to the Fox and the Hound the night before and have a great time.
From what I remember, yes, yeah, it was a good time. A lot of fun. "Quote unquote" drivers' meeting was just a reason to get drunk.
The DNQ Lead 2 series, the rental kart series, that was the start of all of this. And it was so much fun to run those races over the years. Talk about that and running that and how much fun you had running that series.
The rental series was good because a lot of us mechanics that don't get to race got to race like guys like Drew Herring. I think Truex and Joey Logano came in around a few times. It was good for us to try and show that we had some skill. That we all have a racing background and we can all somewhat drive. I think the best part was going to GoPro all the time with Drew Herring. And now I think when I show up to GoPro, I'm somewhat of a threat to run. And I owe that to Drew Herring.
You were also part of the first ever DNQ dirt race at Millbridge Speedway. You led some of that race. You ran very well. Go over that race with me.
So the dirt race... Man, I just remember it was like in January and we were all freezing cold. I think I wore 3 jackets just to race in. And I had never driven a dirt go-kart ever. And JP Egbert was a coworker of ours at Gibbs at the time, had, a background in go-kart racing, and he was just more or less in the way. I remember leading a bunch of laps, and I hit the wall a few times and just completely out of control. We didn't actually prep our tires till that morning, and just because we had no idea what we were doing. And Brandon Knupp helped us with tires, I believe, and somehow I ended up sitting in a good spot, and JP ended up chopping my nose.
Egbert going to stay up high as he... Oh, no! Oh, my God! Egbert gets run over by Madill, and the caution is out.
And wrecking me on 5 to go, and RJ Otto of all people ended up winning the race. So it was a little discouraging, but it was cool to be a part of the first big races for the DNQ series.
Who was your most rivaled racer? Who was the one that pissed you off the most?
We worked together at Gibbs. David Markham was. We were both terrible, but we also drove, so hard around each other, and I don't know why.
Makes a move.
Markham in that League 2 real estate car gives Too Tall a shot for that second place. The League 2 kart's in 2, and Too Tall Madill back to the inside.
Oh, yeah. Moves him up into the loose shit. Man, we're on a Lead 2 tear right now with these two. We got Too Tall and Lead 2 as he's back inside. What a battle. You know what? These two have a history together, racing each other hard, and it's no surprise we're seeing this now.
I don't understand that. We never really spoke about it because by the time we got back to the shop the next day, everything was fine. We'd apologize to each other and then laugh about it. And I would say for whatever reason, we just didn't like each other on the track.
Well, you're looking at the tire scuff marks on the front end of the 519 of Michael Too Tall Madill. He ended up having a pretty scrappy time out there on the track with David Markham. And tell us about how that escalated.
I'm not really sure. I think there were a few times where he got into me, kind of tried to early apex it versus late apex in it like I was. And he got to my bumper a few times, and I felt like he ran over me a couple times, hitting the inside berm when I was already to the bottom of the track. I was taught to not race that way. I'm a little ashamed that I did race that way, but if you're going to race me like that, I'm going to race you back and do whatever it takes. I was a little pissed off there at the end.
But isn't that the nature of short track racing, the bumping and banging, the pushing and shoving with what goes on out there? It comes with the territory, doesn't it?
Yeah, but when it's that early in the race and there's a caution to go with 5 to go, I think it's unnecessary. These guys, race a lot cleaner. It's a little shame that Nye wasn't running with us or Buzzkirk. Those guys, they don't race that way, even on the short track. I've been a part of that.
You're obviously starting your new brand, a brand new business, Filthy Mechanic Clothing. You guys have come on board to sponsor the DNQ Pro Cup Series. Talk about your T-shirts and your sales and everything that's involved with sponsorship in DNQ.
When you look at the DNQ series, you can go easily to the YouTube page and see how many views they have. You can easily go to the Facebook page and Twitter and Instagram and see how many people follow the DNQ series. And a lot of that is local here in North Carolina, and then there's even an outreach outside of the state. So to give back to the DNQ series, which has been so much fun for me, and to get back to the DNQ series just feels like home.
All right, here's a very key question. Will we ever see you back in the seat in a DNQ dirt race?
I don't see why not. I mean, I have the treaded tires, obviously, from my Outlaw kart. I can go get an engine pretty cheap, obviously, and I still have my kart from when I used to race. So if time permitting, if work allows, Wednesday nights are hard to get away from the shop, but I don't see why not.
We're getting ready to watch the RS Customs Paint double feature night from the SKE Speedway, the short track in front of the Millbridge Speedway. Obviously, you love this racetrack, but why did you pick this race to watch?
The short track stuff was a lot of fun to race. It was always just pure havoc, getting sideways, bumping people out of the way. Just a really good track to run and obviously watch like we're going to do today.
All right, well, let's check this race out and see what happened. I mean, you look at like Tim Nye. I mean, this was a no bull 3-race event. So this was like we were paying an extra $100 for the top 4 finishers or something like that. So this was double feature night because I guess we got rained out. And the first top 4 finishers were in it, and then they would get the money afterwards. Yeah, Flores ran this race too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I loved racing at this racetrack. Like I was always tight because I never put enough right rear air in it where I could actually wheel it, and I didn't figure that out till really late in running this track. But I loved running here. It was so much fun.
I think in this particular race, I hadn't started to wear contacts yet, and I was wearing glasses, and they bounced around. I ended up taking them off and stuffing them in my hoodie pocket and lost them out on the racetrack, and had to go find them at the end of the night. I drove pretty much blind the whole night.
I gotta say though, I think you had like a tinted shield on too during this race. I'm like, how the hell could you even see?
I always wear a tinted shield. Except for now my Outlaw card, I do wear a clear shield. That way I don't have any excuses.
Yeah. I mean, look at this track. That was so much fun, man. I mean, it was, you had to hit it just right, especially like getting into one. I remember a big jump.
Yes.
Jump down into one. Hopefully everything would stay together and you didn't hit anybody. And then it was just, it was 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. You'd never stop.
It was fun too because when you drop down into the track, it would sometimes get loose on you, and you'd almost drift out to the exit of the corner.
Holzbauer and Nye were really good. When Holzbauer stuff stayed together, he was pretty stout.
Big power.
You know who else was really good on this track was McCleary.
Yeah, McCleary was actually, he was always good. I feel like he was one of the toughest guys to race in this division.
Carver was definitely the hardest guy to race with for me.
Really?
We were equally as shitty at each other, and dude, there'd be one corner, you'd be good, and he'd hit you. You'd get up the racetrack. I'd go in there, hit him as hard as I could, get him up the track, and he'd hit me even harder the next lap.
What a great race this is to watch.
There's McCleary right there. I mean, dude, you watch these guys. They're so
You can
good.
see how terrible I am. I'm already getting lapped. Absolutely terrible.
Well, the top was so dusty you could not get up there. Like it was one groove, and that was it.
Is a very Diamond S style
Nye has that big arc.
Look how short this track is, and I felt like you were always in the throttle. You were just using the brake to try and slow down the entry, but still staying in the gas.
There were times I'd try to like start pitching it, getting in, because I couldn't handle right, and I don't know, it was okay, but it never worked out very well for me.
I mean, I'm just hanging on for dear life out here.
Yeah. Flores, man, I used to love when he'd come run these races, but you knew he was just if he wasn't competitive, it was gonna kill him, and he wouldn't run it.
Yeah, he would just pull off.
Yeah.
This one is for Mike Carver, whose shit has died on
Carver, for being a mechanic too, also never kept anything together, I feel like.
Yeah. I used to say the same thing. I'm a mechanic for a living, and I have more mechanical failures on my go-kart than anything else. That's what happens when you're drinking. You're working on your stuff.
Yeah, you should never drink while doing a nut and bolt on your own go-kart. Maybe somebody else's, but not your own.
I look at some of the graphics on this stuff, like now, and I'm like, man, I was not very good at making graphics on some stuff. You know what I mean? Like, but hey,
lots of practice.
You know what? We have come a long way since this. I mean, if I go way back to watching like rental car race graphics,
a lot of people forget that this series actually started out as a rental kart series.
Yeah, you know, not many people know that.
Time spent at the pit was the very first one. GoPro and Victory Lane.
Well, there I go. It was. I mean, dude, when we first started this, it was out of control. And it all started us just talking smack to each other, basically.
And really to talk shit about Daniel Quinn Jr. God rest his soul.
Pretty much. Markham.
I'm not trying to make excuses, but I'm trying to remember if I was actually having mechanical issues during this race. Maybe I'm just making excuses.
I don't know why you take the and Flores just took the whole field out. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of whose cart that was that he was driving. Do you remember?
I have no idea.
It was bad fast.
Wow.
Was this a choose cone race also?
Oh yeah, yeah. You didn't want to get up top. I know that because it was like ice up there.
Unless you could pick up 8 spots, you never went to the top.
And you could tell it's a real tight track because everybody's deadlocked to the left when they get in the corner. It's a race that Flores wants to forget, I guess. But like you get up top, see him digging. Like McCleary had a good start there, but it's just this series with the guys that you were racing with, and obviously cautions out every 2 seconds. But the guys that you were racing with, there you are, up on the berm.
Next short track race we arrived.
The guys that you were racing with, especially like on the big track when you ran, you had to trust the guys that were around you a lot, because if you didn't, you were going like 60 miles an hour without belts.
Yeah.
So there was some sort of respect in the danger factor that we had racing these things, because you had to. Like if you didn't, somebody's going to flip it and possibly could get seriously injured.
I remember being at a few of these races and seeing, actually, I think Brandon Nupp flipped one time.
Yeah.
At the track opening gate.
Do you slide it and move it, or do you try to run it like an asphalt track? It's not. It gives the fucking bumper.
Flores started running better.
I think you run it however the hell Holzbauer's running it, because God
Flores is not afraid to give the bumper back, too, which is always fun to watch.
Carver again.
Carver, mechanical issues.
Tough break for him. Well, as we're under caution.
Oh yeah, that was probably one of the better rivalries in DNQ was Flores and Nye. Almost forgot about that. Those two went at it a ton at field fillers, and then they continued that here in DNQ for a short amount of time because Flores didn't run all the time. But I loved it when those two got into it.
Flores was not afraid to get in your face, whether it was obviously the dirt stuff, the old field filler days, or even the rental kart track with Jeremy Clements.
Absolutely. And then Nye is the same way. Nye's just a hard racer. So, like, obviously he just got dumped there.
And now
they stayed green. Now he's just waiting.
He said he's done.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that 110%. Holzbauer won that. Dude, Holzbauer was good. There were plenty of times that, like, you raced around him and you're like, okay, this guy's definitely got it together. That was definitely feature one.
Well, here we go. Getting ready to go for the second feature. We inverted 4 carts.
All right, feature 2 starting now. So we had inverts, and they rolled dice, and I guess obviously he rolled a 4. I think we started on the front row of this.
We may have. Which, yes, actually, I do remember starting on the front row of this, and pretty sure everybody was terrified.
Yeah. And the two worst drivers in DNQ history are sharing the front row because of an invert.
I think it was the only time I led was under caution. I've got a really good photo of this, actually, of us on the front row, and I think it was the only time that we led the race. I'm pretty sure that we're going to get split right here.
Yeah, yeah. It didn't take very long, if I remember correctly.
I washed up. Yep. I washed up, and we're going to the back.
I spun around, so there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Typical.
Was that Markham that shipped him? Markham was my least favorite guy to be around.
I remember it a lot of times where you'd be like, you two got into it a couple times, if I remember correctly.
It always made it interesting because at the time we were both working at Gibbs, and then with Curtis also being there, Monday mornings or Thursday mornings, whatever night we ran the next day was just always terrible. It was kind of awkward.
Yeah. Well, you know, it is what it is. It is what it is.
Just hard racing for no money.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, the best part is you get all pissed off at each other, and all you do is destroy all of your stuff, and then you get back to the house, and you're like, what the hell happened here? I just destroyed all my stuff for
nothing. I gotta go buy a new nose now.
Yeah. Dude, I'm telling you, that loose stuff up there is like ice, but when everybody got single file, it was good. Well, now you see that group started to open up because people would get lapped. There you go.
I had a big run.
Yeah.
Ran right in the back of him, spun out.
It's fun to watch. It's fun to watch all these old videos and stuff like that. That was a nice. That cart that you ran, wasn't that Casey LaJoy's?
Yeah, it was actually it was Casey LaJoy's. It was an MGM cart, and it actually won a couple races out at Field Fillers, but I could never do anything with it.
Yeah.
I still have it.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. Probably put a new engine on it and come out and run a couple times.
Yeah, I mean, if you...
I've got enough treaded tires.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely should. Yeah, see, this is me and Carver. This is me and Carver racing right here. All over each other.
Yeah.
24/7 for last.
But as that's going on, they're getting ready to go a lap down, too, as you're watching the top 4 battle it out.
Yeah, and these two wrecking the shit out of each other right there.
He gets a little bit wide and goes 2 spots back.
Tim Nye got that one win as we're on board with him. Oh, and he
Markham getting shipped. You're in the way. Time to move. I think that was probably kind of one of the reasons I didn't want to continue the flat cart stuff. We had such a good time racing when it was just all mechanics, just guys to go do something on a Wednesday night. But when it got really serious with a lot of go-kart guys, that they didn't really want to race you, they just moved you. So that was kind of one of my biggest struggles. Was we had a good time, we had a good thing going. You still obviously have a really good thing going, especially with the treaded tire. Kind of makes me want to get my stuff going, but you can race around. It's not just a bottom feeder racetrack where if you're in the way,
I think that was a big issue with some of this stuff here too. Is just hit, bump and go, and it's wide open all the time. It's not really racing, and that's where like the bigger built engines you actually had to race still.
Yes.
And this is when Markham was actually pretty good. I mean, there was a time that Markham. He still has the same body on his cart, but there was a time when he would show up and he'd run top 3, and dude, I don't know what's happened to him. There you go, me and Carver again. I didn't know what happened to him as far as racing and stuff, but see right there. I loved racing with him. We raced the shit out of each other, but like when you're racing and this is going on, you're like, I want to kill you right now. Because let me just get away from you for a lap, and then like you'll drive away.
Yeah.
Well, then they catch you and they hit you, and then you get passed by 3 other carts.
I must have broke something.
Yeah. They hit you, pass you, and then you get passed by like 3 other carts, and it pisses you off. Because I know I'm faster than that guy, and he just knocked me out of the way. Cost me 5 spots.
Good looking body work. He's got
like Nye racing. He was really good. Nye was really good. Holzbauer was really good. Even when Buzz Kirk was racing, he was.
That's good racing right there. Yeah, between you and Markham.
Yeah.
Which is typical.
Whoa, Markham getting pushed out by Eddie by a fucking lap, which lets Timmy Nye through.
Yeah, I probably am a lap down racing the shit out of Markham.
My fault.
I guess I just assumed he was a lap down.
Yeah, that's a fair assumption.
Well, like here, you had no idea who's the leader, who's not. I don't give a shit. I'm getting passed by everybody. Who cares? You know, it is what it is. The 5-to-go cautions here are stupid. Like when we first came up with the 5-to-go caution, my brother was the one who came up with that. He's like, "We need a 5-to-go caution." I'm like, let's not do that. It's stupid. Blah blah blah. Everybody loves it. Like I got to give it to him. He had a great idea and it actually worked out for him because I would have never thought that throwing a caution with 5 laps to go would be that good.
Sometimes I don't think the drivers necessarily like it. Maybe if you're running in third here in this situation, it'd work out in your favor. But the fans definitely love it.
Oh, yeah.
Just because it's a shit
Well, you
show.
get like a boring go-kart race and the guy's out, taken out, gone. It sucks.
Yeah.
Nothing fun to watch with it. So, I mean,
here we go.
Watch this. You see LJ and Markham actually ran well.
Flores restarting 4th here.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, I don't think here we went a lap down. Like, everybody stayed on the lead lap. That was our rule then, I think. And then, like, with 5 to go, it got out of control. Like, it was all you could get. Beating and banging. Flores and Nye. There it is again. I used to love, like, they'd interview him after the race or something, and he'd have that face, like, I'm gonna, like, the psycho face.
Is that Nye?
No, Flores.
Oh, Flores, yeah.
I love, like, I cannot, like, we lived this race, I've commentated this. I cannot wait to see what happens between these two now.
Yeah.
Like, I still watch this going, okay, this is good racing, but having dynamic personalities like that really makes the series, too, when you have rivalries like that. And it makes it better for everybody to watch and then for everybody to race in, too. But I know racing, you don't want to go near those guys.
No. And they run a lot of stuff together, too, you know, the go-karts and obviously the TQ midgets up north, the indoor series. I think Flores has got him beat on that.
Yeah. Cleary won that one. LJ was always good, smooth, but
he was really good on the big track.
Yeah.
I always thought.
That's definitely cool to go back and watch some of these old races. It's definitely cool to sit there and commentate it. Well, Tutal, I want to thank you for being a part of this first episode of DNQ Throwbacks, and we really appreciate you being a part of this series over the years, and look forward to you being a part of it in the future.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And obviously, it was fun watching some old races and shooting the shit.